Howdy, Doodles of Cyprus, friends and family. Jennifer Nichols here, coming to you from Doodles of Cyprus. Today I'm at my mental health practice, and I thought I would take a moment before my next session to answer some questions that a potential client emailed me. There are many of them, and I thought these are good questions. Why not make a video of this, send it to that potential client to answer their questions, and then also be able to post it on social media so that other people might benefit from the answers to these questions. So, without further ado, there are 11 of them, pardon me, and some of them have 2 parts or 3 parts to that question. So, we will get through this as quickly as possible. Question number 1 is, what is your goal as a breeder? Very good question. If you don't have a goal as a breeder, if you're just doing this because you think it's a quick way to make some cash, then this is not the job for you. This is not the industry for you. I do everything that I do out of a love of God and a love of people and a love of animals. As you would know, if you read my website, my grandfather, who was a huge influence on me, was the reason why I went to Texas A&M University and had no desire to go anywhere else. My grandfather was an Aggie, class of 41, and he was also a veterinarian for 60 plus years. And he taught me through all of our interactions, just doing life with my grandfather, that pets are really a gift from God. Animals in general are a gift from God, and we should be very thankful for them and care for them. And then the loving the God, loving the people, those things go right together, right? Because if you are a believer, if you're not, that is one of the greatest commandments, is to love God with all of your heart and with all of your soul, with all your might, everything you've got, love God, and also love people. So I do that through this mission of producing dogs that hopefully are heart healers and life changers, as Jeanette Forey has stated. It's kind of her motto. That's her motto for her program at 4E Kennels. And I think it's a great one because it's absolutely true. Dogs do heal hearts and change lives. So my goal is to, number 1, love people and love God through all of my actions. Produce animals that are healthy, only using the most healthy animals that I can afford to buy, and treating them with the utmost respect, making sure that they have all of their health testing that is not only suggested, but I feel like required, and honoring my dogs and people through producing incredible puppies that are confident, that have high nerve strength, and that can be amazing canine citizens, whether they are serving in a working placement or if they're just a couch potato. So that is my goal as a breeder. If you don't have a goal as a breeder, if you didn't come into this with a missional statement, then this is definitely not the job for you, not the industry for you, because there is so much loss. There is so much research that goes into doing this properly. And again, the loss is huge. I mean, we have almost lost a dam before, and that was just soul crushing. That was absolutely soul crushing. She's my pet. You know, she's a dog that does life with me. And so if you're just doing this, you know, for grins and giggles, this is probably not the job for you. And finally, the goal that I have is to better the entire Golden Doodle breed. That is my hope, that I will only produce dogs that are going to better the breed. They're going to bring something positive, something good, and perhaps better than their predecessors. So that's my goal. All right, number 2, what health tests do you do? So, pardon me, still trying to get over this stuff that we had. So the health tests we do, at a minimum, we always start with genetic testing, genetic screening. And to do that, we utilize Embark. And we also utilize, to back us up for certain tests, such as CDDY and CDPA. And there are other breeds that have special things that are concerns for them. And so, for instance, for poodles, Large ones, von Willebrands and DM is both of those are issues. So we might go to a second testing entity such as paw print just to make sure that we have accurate results from Embark. That's the first level of testing. Second is we've kind of developed this kind of protocol where at around 4 months old, if we have a program dog, we will have that dog's hips tested through PinHip, and then also send those radio images to OFA at the same time. So we have two entities that are grading those hips. So right off the bat, if a dog fails hips, but even before that, if the genetics aren't there, then we're going to wash that dog. And that means that doesn't mean we give them a bath. It means that we're going to spay or neuter that dog and find that dog a wonderful home to live in and be a pet the rest of its life and live out its best life with that family. So then if we get past the hips, then we proceed into the remainder of the OFA tests. And I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what OFA stands for. OFA stands for Orthopedic Foundation for Animals. And they are an entity, an organization that looks at radiographs, tests from veterinarians that are able to perform these tests and decides what the grading is for that specific test. So we do hips, also do PinHip, elbows, patellar. We also do basic cardiac and eyes. So we do 5 tests total, and those are based off of the breeds that are involved in a golden doodle, which are a poodle and a golden retriever. So the OFA website has a listing by breed of what the minimum testing suggestions are for that particular breed. And so we adhere to that for both breeds. We are members of the Golden Doodle Association of North America. If you are not familiar with that organization, I highly recommend that you check them out online, because it explains the breeding kind of tier system, breeder program tier system that they have that currently are described in ribbon colors. My understanding is that's going to be changing to like gold and platinum or something like that. But currently right now it's still blue, red. Oh, I don't know what the other one is. Maybe there's not one. Maybe it's just blue and red. At any rate, we're blue. We're blue ribbon breeders. So that's the highest tier that you can attain. That means that you have done all the testing that the GANA, Golden Doodle Association of North America, has asked or required for that level. So check that out at Golden Doodle Association of North America. All right, number 3, how do you decide what 2 dogs to breed together? Very good question. Again, if you're breeding dogs and you're just throwing 2 dogs together because you're thinking, oh, that one's cute and that one's nice, let's do this. That is very haphazard and would highly, highly discourage you from doing that. So a lot of thought goes into this. I worry and ruminate over what pairings I'm going to use. I want 2 dogs that are going to complement one another. Temperament-wise, color traits, size, and genetics. So those all go into it, and we could do a whole video just on that. But to be sure, I am looking for 2 dogs that are healthy and have met all of my criteria, and then they also complement one another on in those categorical areas. Okay, at what age do you start breeding? Very good question. It's really not a good practice to breed a dog before its 3rd heat. Now, I'm not going to throw shade on anybody and argue with anyone. It's just time. It just gives them time to mature sexually. I also feel like breeding them as close to 2 years old as possible, or waiting until they're as close to 2 years old as possible, is beneficial. I have bred a dog on their 3rd heat, and they weren't quite two yet. And that dog, her first litter, obviously that was her first litter, she just kind of didn't know what to do. And I thought that was just how she was going to be as a dog. But when she was older, a year later, she was fantastic. She just knew everything. I don't know. God is amazing, and God has created these animals, and he knows what he's doing. I'm not going to argue with him. So she knew just what to do. And so that's kind of been our practice. The other dogs we had bred at 2 years, to just keep that as a general practice, that we want to wait until they are as close to 2 years old as possible. We want them to have had 2 heats, so no earlier than their 3rd heat, and as close as to 2 years old as possible. Okay, what preventative care do you do for your dogs? Well, all the preventative care that you should do as a dog owner if you're not breeding dogs. They should be getting their annual exams at the doctor. They should be getting fecals on a regular basis. Not a lot of people understand about fecals. Man, parasites are out there, guys. They're everywhere. If you take your dog anywhere, they're exposed to parasites, and worms are everywhere. Thankfully, we use a heartworm preventative that takes care of whips, hooks, and rounds. So HeartGuard takes care of that all the time. That's that monthly supplement that we give our dogs to prevent them from having heartworms. It is a horrible way for a dog to die, heartworms. My grandfather, who I mentioned was a veterinarian, had many jars of hearts from necropsies he had done from dogs that had died that had heartworms. And guys, it looks like an alien. It's disgusting. You see the heart, and then there are all these horrible tendrils coming out of the heart from all these different directions. I can't even imagine how painful that was for that dog to die that way. So it's a very simple prevention. All you got to do is give them a monthly preventative, and they don't have to suffer that. So in some areas, I know heartworms aren't as big of an issue as others. In the South, I would say any of our southern states, man, you got to. It just, their mosquitoes are rampant, and that's the transmission vehicle for heartworms, are mosquitoes. So they get their vaccinations, they get their yearly exams. And then for mamas, we're going to also be tracking their cycles. We're going to be, when they do get pregnant, or right before they get pregnant, we'll be giving them special vitamins to make sure that that extra stress that is put on their bodies is supported with the proper nutrition and the proper supplements. So I think that's about it. Oh, well, the grooming. I don't know if this person included that in that question, but my goodness, if you have a golden doodle, you are very familiar with your groomer. Our dogs have to be groomed every 6 to 8 weeks. We love our groomer. She and her staff are amazing. Canine Parlor, Lori Mendez, she is absolutely outstanding, and she's worth every penny that I pour into that, which is a lot. There are a lot of pennies. Lots of pennies. But I can't do it, and she does a fantastic job, and she loves my dogs, so can't beat that with a stick. Okie dokies. Number 6. When do you send the puppies to their new homes? And there is a second part to this question I'll answer in a second. This is a hot button issue for me. I get real irritated when I'm looking at Facebook and I'm going through the puppy threads, golden doodle owner threads, and I see people post, "This is my new puppy Zeus. He's 6 weeks old," or "He's 4 weeks old." And I just cringe and shudder, because puppies have no business going home before 8 weeks. They just don't. And again, I'm not throwing shade, really. Sort of kind of am, I guess. But there are just so many things that puppies learn from being with their litter mates, from being with their mama, even though they're mostly weaned by 5 weeks old, or they're beginning that weaning process. But they just learn how to be a puppy and how to be a dog. They learn rules and limits from their litter mates is just so beneficial for them as a dog. So removing them from their litter mates any earlier than 8 weeks is highly unadvisable. And I just wouldn't do it. And that's why a lot of times when a breeder has a singleton, that's when a puppy it's just one puppy born. They will try to add that puppy to another litter so that that puppy knows what it's like to be a puppy in a litter with litter mates. So 8 weeks is the earliest. Typically ours go home right before 9 weeks or after 9 weeks, just because of the way we do our temperament evaluations and our first vet visit, which is another question that she asked, so I'll get to that in a second. Second part, do they see the vet before they go home? There's that part of the question. So absolutely, I have given lots of dog vaccinations. I did it for my grandfather. I worked at his clinic in the summertime. When I was at A&M, I would come home in the summers and I would work there with him, and I gave all of his vaccinations. He didn't even do it. He was just like, Jennifer, give the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And I would do it. Also took blood. I did all kinds of things. But as a breeder, as just a private citizen, if I give a dog a vaccination and something bad happens as a result of that vaccination, the pharmaceutical company that manufactured that vaccine will not stand behind whatever happened. They will not cover it. They will not take responsibility for it. So in order for that vaccine to be backed up by the pharmaceutical company, the manufacturer, it must be administered by a licensed veterinarian. So that's important to us. It's also very important to us that our veterinarian examines every single puppy from nose to tail, from snout to tail. She takes so much time with them. Dr. Richards at Cypress Veterinary Hospital. She's outstanding. We love her very much. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So they go there on their 8th week birthday because our vet feels very strongly about not vaccinating before that 8th week. So that's when we begin our vaccinations for our puppies. And then go home would be shortly after that. We always do go homes on Fridays. And it does force people to take off work, but it does give them that extra day, kind of a long weekend effect to adjust, not only them, but help the puppy adjust to that new life, being away from their litter mates, away from us, and the only home that they've ever known. All right, number 7, how do you decide who gets a puppy? Very good question. I don't decide who gets a puppy. The deciding that I do is I decide if I feel like I want to work with a person or not, or a family or not. And I do that by a series of steps in it's sort of an interview process, an application process, if you will. And so that's how I decide if I am going to engage with a person or a family, is that process. Now, once they are on my reservation list and they have paid a reservation fee to be on that list, I'm not going to tell them they have to take this puppy. I know there are breeders that do that, and I know they have very good reasons why they do that. But for me, I feel like people are spending so much money on these puppies, and they're worth every single penny. I mean, the amount of money that we pour, literally hemorrhage, into our breeding program is excessive and quite ridiculous. So they're worth every single penny. They have had every opportunity, every benefit has been given to them at a very costly, not only blood, sweat, tears, but financial cost for us. But people are paying a lot of money for these puppies, and if they're going to do so, I feel like you need to have autonomy in choosing which puppy you want. Now, with that said, when we're going through that interview process, I make it very clear to a potential client that they are supposed to use the results from the temperament evaluations that we do. I am a tier 2, that's the highest level tiered BAB, Badass Breeder Puppy Evaluator, and I've been trained to do it professionally. So I professionally evaluate my puppy's temperaments. I give them the feedback about each puppy's temperament. They get a score sheet, they get interpretive information about what this or that means, and they are to use that data as a guideline to create a short list of puppies that they would be amenable to taking home. So if they're picking spot number 6, they need to have 6 puppies picked out in their head already before they come to go home day that they would be, excited about bringing into their home. So I don't pick the puppy. I give information, I provide feedback, and I will say that the more I'm involved in the process, so if a client has questions and they ask for my opinion, the more I'm involved in it, typically the better it goes, because I'm the one that's been with those puppies for 8+ weeks, and I'm the one that did their evaluations, and I'm the one that's trained to do those evaluations. So that's how that goes. So you or the client picks their puppy. Number 8, what prenatal care do your dogs get? So first of all, my dams, that's a female dog that's used for breeding, are my pets. So they're with us in our lives, in our home, walking around, sleeping on the couch. They're doing all that. So that's part of their prenatal care. Being a part of a pack, being loved on, petted, massaged on a daily basis. getting the best diet that I literally can afford. We're constantly searching for the next best diet for our dogs, and we have now switched from Open Farm to Inukshuk. I did a video. I know people. I already said that we use Open Farm. Something happened, and we've moved to Inukshuk. Inukshuk. It was a formula of a feed that was created by dog mushers, or for dogs that mushed, but they have other tiers where it's a good feed enough for a dog that is not going to be a crazy busy athlete. I know there are breeders that will tell you, or I guess they're breeders, I don't know. I've had some people comment about it on threads that it's a feed that is not appropriate for a dog that's a pet. But I called and visited with the nutrition people at Inukshuk. I explained with great detail the energy level that most of my puppies that go home, the families that are getting those puppies, and the dogs that are in my home, and they were very, very confident that the 2616 formula, which is what we feed, is completely appropriate for the activity level of dogs that are pets. But with that said, breeding dogs are high performance animals. The stress that goes into a dog's body that is carrying puppies, nursing puppies, taking care of puppies is immense. It is enormous. They are high performance athletes. So at any rate, they get great food. They also get prenatal supplements. We use a product called Oxymate. And then once they have their babies, we use a product called Oxymama. And those are just like prenatal support vitamins. And when they're nursing, we also give them a little bit of fenugreek to help with milk production. And we also give them a little sunflower lecithin, just in hopes. There has been, I don't think there's any empirical evidence that says that this is like a contributor to helping prevent mastitis. But since we have had mastitis twice, once almost killed one of our dogs and forced her into retirement to be spayed too early, because oh my goodness, her puppies were amazing. That was when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to throw the kitchen sink at this, and you know, if a pill helps, let's do it. So we do some sunflower lecithin as well. All right. They also get ultrasounds, and each mama will get an ultrasound, and then they will also get an x-ray. So that's all a part of their prenatal care. That's all done by our reproductive veterinarians down at Cy-Fair Animal Hospital, different from our regular vet. These are vets. They actually have a show on, I think it's Lifetime, or TLC, The Vet Life. So those are our reproductive veterinarians. Dr. Levine, Dr. Blue, wonderful guys. Okay, so then we have number 9. What kind of environment are the puppies raised in? So the puppies are raised in an incredible environment. They are in our beautiful, not quite finished yet, but always under construction, our puppy whelping / curriculum, indoor curriculum room. Then we also added this last litter because of Josie having mastitis, because of that issue, because of a litter before, 2 litters before, we had some issues with parasites. We decided, you know what, we're also going to throw the kitchen sink at this. So we created an outdoor turf area, because turf can be sanitized and grass cannot. Grass cannot be sanitized. So we just kind of upgraded everything. So they're in a whelping box / nursery stall. Then they go to their toddler stall, which has access to the outdoors for a run, for them to go potty outside. Beginning at 4 weeks old, our puppies are trained to a doggy door. We are so proud of that. It just really boosts potty training, makes it so much easier. And that's their environment. And we do lots of exposures outside in different areas, just not on the grass. We've just stopped all grass because of that parasitic thing we had a while back. And we've won, in my opinion, because the last litter we had that issue once with the parasites. We haven't had it again. So very thankful and praying that helps things and we don't have that issue. Number 10, have you ever had parvo on your property? And there's also a second question, which we kind of already answered. Thank the Lord, no, never had parvo on our property. I knew several wonderful breeders last summer that had parvo on their property, and it is devastating. Watched dogs, die in my grandfather's veterinary practice from parvo. Terrible, horrible way to die. Your insides melt. and it's just terrible. Blood's everywhere. It's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible way to die. So no, we have not had that. The reason I think we haven't had that is because we are extremely particular about our cleaning protocols. We are also extremely particular about our visitation protocols. People will email or call or text asking, hey, can I come by and see your puppies? Hey, can I see the room that they're born in? Hey, can I see blah, blah, blah. Want to meet your dogs. I want to see if my kids get along with your dogs, because then that means they'll get along with a puppy, which is not true. I mean, I know how it makes sense maybe in your head, but that's not how it works. You know, just because you get along with the mother and father of a litter doesn't mean that you're going to get along with a puppy, because everybody's different, just like you and I are different, and all of my children are different. Also, dogs are different. So, you know, we do our best by pairing dogs that complement one another. But my point is that just by simply meeting the mother and father of a dog, of puppy, of a litter, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to say, yep, that dog's the dog for me. That's not how it works. So, but it's very dangerous to just bring people on your property because they're tracking in things. And the worst thing is parvo. That's the one we're really concerned about. It comes in on people's feet, on the feet of other animals, and it lives in the soil for years. It's really creepy and scary. It's why it hasn't been eradicated. There's no way we're going to be able to eradicate it. It's not going to happen. We just have to do our very best to prevent it. So God forbid it should ever happen. I'm so thankful to God that we have not had it happen, and I pray that we continue to not have it happen. Second question, what about worms of any kind? And she specifically asked about hook, rounds, and whips. No, haven't had a positive worm test for any of that. In fact, the only thing that we ever have had a positive test for, as I stated, was like a couple litters ago, we had coccidia, which I'm a little bit dubious about because the test for that is so sensitive. You can have an air bubble in the sample and it will come back as a cyst, but it's not a cyst, it's an air bubble. So, and there are reasons why I'm dubious about that because of testing that was done after. But irregardless, we thought we did, and we definitely had Giardia. And so once you have those on a property, then you're just going to have to deal with them forever. And so that's why we have gone to the lengths of the earth to try to prevent them, and successfully have done so since we made changes to our outside protocols. So only putting puppies and mamas in situations where during whelping, during the raising of a litter, that they do not step foot on anything that cannot be sanitized. And there are different chemicals that we have to use to sanitize. So no, we've never had that. Number 11, what kind of health contract or backing do you have? I have a 2-year health guarantee, and as I kind of stated, I think I said this at the beginning of this video, if I haven't, listen, the most of these answers can be found at www.doodlesofcyprus.com, and definitely this one can. It explains our process. I also have, I'm very transparent. I'd rather over-communicate than under-communicate. So our contract, our purchase contract, is even on our website. I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody. I want everybody to know straight up what it's going to be like to do business with us. And so that is on there. You can go to our contract and read about the 2-year health guarantee. It really is protecting only against things that I can control and prevent. So I can't control and prevent cancer. No one can. We can't. Now, if you expose your dogs to a bunch of poisons, like for instance, if you're using Roundup at your house, I would stop that immediately. That is a known carcinogen, both in animals and people. So, you know, you do what you can, but I cannot promise that once that puppy leaves here that it's not going to get cancer. I just can't. So, can't protect against that. We do protect against heart, you know, hips, things that we test through OFA. We have a 2-year guarantee on that. So that is completely reviewable at our website. And my friends, that is the last question. That was question number 11. So I hope that this has given this potential client a good insight into some answers for some questions that she had. And I hope it also spurs you, if you're thinking about getting a puppy, that you would ask similar questions. You need to ask breeders questions. If they can't answer questions, then you don't need to be doing business with them. A question she didn't ask, which I wish she had, is, do you use curriculum with your puppies? And if so, what is it? Because that, my friends, is the Doodles of Cyprus difference. we're not just throwing puppies in a whelping box and, playing with them until they're ready to go home. Our puppies are pushed in a developmentally appropriate way, beginning on day 3, to maximize nerve strength and confidence level, and to create puppies that are balanced and sound, using outstanding advanced puppy curriculum created by Jeanette Forey, the Badass Breeder program. There's also another program called Puppy Culture. That kind of is how we got into Jeanette Forey. We had started out with Puppy Culture, and then another person said, hey, you've got to check out Jeanette Forey. Blew my mind. That was it. I was sold. I was done. Read her book, did her continuing education. I continue to do that. She is just incredible. Such an amazing mentor, such an amazing person. Wonderful lady. Cannot speak highly enough about her. And she just really changed, and her practices changed the way that we looked at breeding. So at any rate, that's a question. And I actually had a friend call another doodle breeder in our area because I was just curious if they did any kind of curriculum. I'm not going to say what that program's name is. That is not who I am. But my friend called that program, and my friend asked, my friend's a girl, she said, so do y'all do any kind of curriculum with the puppies? And there was dead silence for a number of seconds, and then laughter. And then the breeder said, what are you talking about? What do you mean curriculum? So that's an answer for you. All right, so I'm going to go now. I've got to start my work day here at Jennifer Nichols Counseling, and I hope you all are doing great, staying well. Flu is bad, I understand. COVID's out there. Take your vitamins, wash your hands, guys. Cover your mouths when you cough. And I hope you're having a wonderful beginning of Christmas season. It's upon us. Take care of yourselves, love one another, and in the meantime, be brave, be kind, and work hard. And so long from Doodles of Cypress.